Hey, Bayek, it's me, Ian. And in today's video, well, I'm looking at this. This is My Generation from 2017. And it's a documentary. Yes, it's about the swinging 60s, London. And it's excellent, very entertaining. It is 85 minutes long. Rotten Tomatoes give it 66%, which I suppose isn't bad for them. Critics, I think they appreciate it, but they're not over the top with it. By heck, they're not. But let's have a look. It's written by Dick Clement and Ian LaFrene. They are well known in terms of writers. The Likely Lads, 1964 to 1966, they created and wrote that. Two feature films that just stand out. Animal Brooks, 1969, Michael Winner film, starring Oliver Reed. And then we've got Villain, 1971, which is brilliant. It stars Richard Burton. Then, of course, they did Whatever Happened to the Likely Lads. That was from 1973 to 74. That was a massive success. Porridge, they did that from 1974 to 1977. And they did Lovejoy, which was a massive Ian McShane program, 1991 to 94. Now, it's directed by David Batty, not the footballer, Leeds United. Yep. Yeah. Now, he was, in terms of documentaries, Japan's War in Color, 2005, Hitler in Color, 2005, The Cult of the Suicide Bomber, 2005. A documentary that stands out for me, of course, was Richard Attenborough Alive, 2014. Love Richard Attenborough. Then this is one that might, yes, it certainly is very true, I think. It struck a chord. Britain's extreme weather, superstorms and heat waves. That's from 2019. Yes, let's hope we don't have more of that, but it's very likely. But anyhow, there we are. Now, it is presented by Sir Michael Caine. What an actor. He's retired last year. He finally retired. And he's just a legend. He is. So many great films. I don't need to go through all the films, but he's just had a wonderful career, really, from, Zulu putting him right there in 1964 and right through. It's just, his old films are just fantastic. What an actor. Anyhow, he's very much involved in this. But also we get him in his Alfie role. It's again another 60s film that he was, it really brought him to the forefront. And we get a lot of clips and interviews as well at the time from him. And just wonderful. Really adds so much to this. Now, we've got a lot of contributors who shape up the sort of atmosphere and the whole nostalgia thing, if you want to put it in that way, about it. We've got David Bailey, a photographer, a very famous photographer at the time. We've got Twiggy, model, iconic. Mary Quant, designer, clothes, cosmetics, very 60s again. Marian Faithfull, actress, singer, recording artist. Paul McCartney. Well, what can you say? Paul McCartney. Beatles. Brilliant. Fantastic. Just so talented. And still going, still producing. Joan Collins, actress, legend. She is wonderful. I love Joan Collins. What a career she had. Then we got Roger Daltrey, of course, The Who's lead singer, also an actor as well. Another just great. I am great, wonderful. Sandy Shaw, do you remember her? She contributes in this. Singer, wonderful singer. Then we've got Penelope Tree, actress. We've got Dudley Edwards, artist. David Hockney, another artist, well-known figure. Lulu, I've got, oh, lovely Lulu. Brilliant singer. Yeah, she's contributes. David Putnam, producer, wonderful. Jean Shrimpton, actress, model. Donovan, yes, Donovan, singer-songwriter, very much brilliant. Some brilliant songs that he wrote. Great artist. Then we've got Emilio Scala, actor, producer. We've got Barbara Ulnernicki, which costume designer, very much again of that period. So these all and sort of in their contributions to this, you realise what so much talent that emerged. But that is the story of this. It's like the post-war period for into the 50s. You know, we had the birth of rock and roll and that, but there was still very much, when you looked at the reflection just of perceptions of people, we weren't getting sort of in terms of acting and the arts, working people with and the accents were all rather posh, as we might say. And the 60s is really the rise of youth culture, and the young people full of ideas were put centre stage in terms of how they affected our culture. And it was a wonderful, so creative period. Yes, it really transformed the images of this country in terms of the worldview and influences. In America, you had similar sort of cultural things going on, and that was here as well. I mean, swinging London, the swinging 60s. Yes, London, it epitomised so much and was seen in a world context as well. And all these wonderful sort of wonderful pieces of art, you know, in music, writing, novels, filmmaking, the films as well, art itself, culture, fashion. The 60s were just so creative, so wonderful. And it's, you know, I love seeing it. I was born in 1960, therefore I was a child, didn't fully see all the impact, but it was there. I was experiencing some of this. I was seeing it as a child, and I obviously 70s is more. I've got a lot more, I suppose, direct connection with the 70s, but the 60s I really love because the music is absolutely fantastic, and the culture, the films, and just what happened. It's such an important period. So this documentary brings that to me. A criticism, I know, will be, and it does touch on it. You know, we talk about the darker sides to all this. The drug culture that may have started off with sort of good best intentions ended up sometimes being an absolute nightmare. And there's it is mentioned in certain context with that. There was a feeling that people also were going on a spiritual journey. And this again is linked with some of the drug use. It's not all sort of hedonistic. But again, the Beatles, of course, very much got into that as well. There's so much of that, but of course, by the end of the 60s, things were not seen in quite such a good way. Lots of darker side undercurrents were there in society, and it became more protests, unrest. You had hate figures like Enoch Powell emerging, spreading their poison about racial issues, and you had all this kind of stuff going on. So the 70s, of course, becomes more cynical, and but I think the contribution of the 60s should never ever be overlooked at all. It was such a creative period, it really was, and changed attitudes to bring a lot of change and a lot of positive change as well. And that was the good thing about the 60s. It broadened people's minds, really, enlightened them more. And the idea that you could come from a working class background and do well, you weren't prevented by, as you had been in the past in many ways, by the class system. You could, get there. And Michael Caine has talked about this from a working class background with the Cockney accent. And, what a breakthrough for people like him and other actors as well, as say with singers, the Beatles, working class background, fantastic, and showing the creativity. I love this documentary. It just set me up. I have to say the music, what I am with music. There's music all the way through it, and it's totally loving it. All those wonderful groups. Oh, it's funny, it's interesting that the Kinks are featured quite a lot as well. I always think the Kinks are very much like the Beatles, a soundtrack of that period. Ray Davies was such a great talent in the songs that he wrote, and the Kinks were, I think, a really good, brilliant group, which perhaps sometimes history has been not as kind to them as it should be. It really should. But that's me going, I'm sorry I started preaching there about me music. I loved it. All I can say is, if you like this kind of nostalgia stuff, it doesn't go too deep, which is great. In many ways, that's how I preferred it. I loved it. And it just sails by, it did. I was singing and loving it and just absorbing it all. The archive footage, wonderful. Anyhow, before I go, I'll just show you. There it is. Look at that. And look, it's in a slipcover. Yeah, there we are. There's the back. Fantastic. Yes. That's it. I've finished. And I better go back. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'll let you know when I put out these videos. And have a look at all the playlists and all the stuff that I do on this channel. Reviews of films, TV series, music, and all that stuff. Nostalgic, a lot of it is as well. And if you like this particular video, please give it a like, get it out onto YouTube, and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully people might like it. If you've got any comments, please put your comments down. I love to read your comments. And by heck, cost note. You can't say fairer than that. So, all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.